Hi everyone, welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth with Scott Lambrell. Good evening, Scott. How are you?
I'm fine. Perry, how are you? Good to be on the show again. You know, we call it a show, but it really isn't for entertainment. It's really not a show. People are used to hearing that, so they say, oh, it's a show. Watch it.
Yeah,
This is more
correct.
about experiencing hidden truth and the
Yeah,
ways to recover knowing hidden truth for the people who tune into this radio thing we do. So that's part of what we do. Reveal hidden truth on a scale that is not revealed to your audience on Earth through any news program or movies or anything else. Because all of this that we discuss out among the stars and other worlds is classified on this planet Earth. Means they're not allowed to talk about it. Any extraterrestrial issue is suppressed all over the world. 35 countries agreed to that after World War II. So they also agreed to disclose the full truth to the public when they felt the public would not panic. Today, in 2019, it's not the public that would panic. The people that are in terror of releasing the truth are the people that classified it. Hidden government and elected people, particularly the hidden government people, are more terrified of releasing the truth because they've been doing it for so long, being dishonest and misleading the public about this, covering it up. They're having a difficult time figuring how to do it without getting lynched. You know, they want to know how to do it where they won't be destructive for them or the rest of the people. And to do that, they have to get some recovery assistance of who they are as beings from friends from out of town. That means kind, very evolved human and other beings that can help them when they're out of their body every night in the sleep state, when they get out of their body. And that's everybody on Earth. They can be approached by kind people in an uplifting way, be shown a greater truth when they're in a more expanded state, not stuck on this Earth. And that can help change their consciousness and free them to make far better decisions on the planet as a collective hidden government and as elected people. And this is kind of what has to happen to have real disclosure happen on this planet. Because none of us who work collectively, co-creatively together towards this focus for planet Earth, an unexpected change in its destiny, none of us want to do it in any destructive way. Tyrants are perfectly capable of doing that, but tyrants are not involved from other worlds on this planet at this time. It's just people on Earth that have been subconsciously manipulated, that are thinking in fear and imagining in fear and making many wrong decisions. And this is the people that run the planet, governments and hidden governments. They make mistakes in thinking and judgment because they're in fear. Fear is a negative emotion, which means when they imagine what to do that's correct, fear distorts and misdirects them to make the wrong choices. And when that backfires, they spend a lot of money and hustle to try to cover up something that the public's finding out about. And it goes on and on and on. Endless amounts of money and energy wasted. Really for nothing. Because there is no future for the people on this planet in space, out among the stars, the way this planet is run right now. No sane race out there, and there are billions, are going to allow us to play among the stars. The way people are being deceived and lied to on this planet, little people hungering for power and manipulation for money and all that kind of thing, that's not going to be tolerated out there. So I make this plain on these little radio shows that this planet in Earth and our solar system is in a sense quarantined by more advanced races, because people as they are on Earth right now would go out in space very destructive, because they'd be looking at things through subconscious drives that are fearful and negative. That won't work. That's never going to work. So, obviously, the solution to this vast problem for this planet of backward people, who don't even remember who they are, or that they're not even a body, and things like this that are simple things to other people in other worlds who grow up knowing it with certainty. The solution is to get the people who don't know and don't remember, and that's the government people, classified hidden government on the planet, to recover. Because they were manipulated through the misuse of extraterrestrial technology without their awareness. to make the kinds of decisions they're making today. And even after the tyrant extraterrestrial problem has been removed from the planet, the people running it are still running artificial programs that are fear-based to keep their consciousness down, grounded to the earth. People on earth can only work with what? That are not classified? In your highest level of PhDs, they can only work with theory and speculation. They don't know anything for sure about outer space, any of it. The Big Bang is a theory. They have theories about black holes being at the center of galaxies, but they're not sure about anything. You can't advance very far in among people out among the stars here in this physical universe without knowing what you're doing. And people on Earth may have reverse engineered spacecraft and some technology that's more antiquated in a sense among extraterrestrial races. It would be their older stuff. You can't really take that out among the stars and go great vast distances between star systems. You can't do it in rocket ships, and they'll never be able to do it. And there are craft on Earth that are reverse engineered that can go. That are anti-gravity, can go out in the solar system, could go beyond into the other star systems, but they don't. Because they can't get outside this solar system the way they are. Part of it has to do with what people call zero-point energy. Vacuum space, or the space between spaces, or the energy that runs the entire universe, is the energy advanced people in spacecraft use to get around creation. That energy is not nuclear. You can't get around the stars in radioactive warp core driven spaceships, and no one will ever be able to do that way. There is a connection to the energy that supports and sustains planets and galaxies that must be utilized in order to get across vast distances, because it does not come under the heading of space and time. You put a craft in that mode and you can get around the universe very quickly. But you can't get around the universe with radioactive, they call them nuclear power something. Because really nuclear power, the way it is used, only boils water to make steam to drive a turbine to create energy, electricity. How's that going to get you across the stars? Well, it's not, and it's radioactive, and it's deadly. No one uses that to get around the universe. Duh. No one that's not insane would ever attempt it. Normal races would never blow up nuclear bombs in their atmosphere to test them. That's the stupidest thing any race has ever done in history in creation. You blow up a nuclear bomb, you set it off in space or somewhere else where it won't harm your own people. What they did on this planet was an act of insanity because it's self-destructive. There's no such thing as developing such weapons for a good, benevolent use. They're only designed for one thing: annihilation. They're purposeless, pointless, hugely, monstrously expensive, deadly, radioactive, and they're all man-made. They make imbalanced isotopes to give these radiations from these materials such a negative, powerful effect on life. There's no point to it. You can't use that kind of energy to cross interstellar space. Anyway, they'll never be able to do that, ever. If they want to play among the stars, then they're going to have to get in harmony with races that already do it and have been doing it for hundreds of millions of years or more. And we're talking about humans, humanoid, and other races out there. They get along just fine. There are some tyrant spacefaring races out there, but they're not in control of anything now. They're not allowed to come back to this planet. What you've got is a problem of people unconsciously misdirected negatively, running things on this planet out of fear. And that is always and only inevitably destructive. Why? One of the primary laws of physics is when you put something out, it puts out an energy into the physical nature of matter, creates an equal but opposite effect. You blow up a hydrogen bomb in the atmosphere of Earth, creates a negative energy out in the universe that comes back to the source of that destruction. That's why they stopped testing bombs in the atmosphere, because they would have destroyed this planet completely. They wouldn't even have needed a nuclear war. As it was, they radiated the entire planet with particles that are very harmful to human DNA. The dummies set off hundreds of them before they finally got wise enough to stop it. That is a form of insanity. The people that are intelligent go to college, they get in the Air Force, they get in the military, they become presidents, they become hidden government people, are growing up on a planet doing all of this with subconscious fear driving the decisions they make. And they don't even know they're doing it. So that's destructive. If beings I know did not intervene in this planet in the last 65 years, in some small way, enough to stop nuclear war, we would all be dead. We would all be atoms floating out of bodies with no bodies. The planet would be radioactive and life wouldn't be on this planet again as we know it for a very long time, until it would be recolonized from people from space. Nuclear bombs have been set off on this planet a very long time ago, long before Lemuria, or the last polar shift, millions of years ago. They never destroyed the planet, but they sure ruined life when it was on it at the time. This would not be, if nuclear war were allowed here, it wouldn't be the first time it's happened. See, people are thinking in too small of terms. Most people can't even think in terms of 100,000 years ago. They think, oh, history, written hieroglyphics go back maybe 10,000 years. They don't understand that that's not even a dent in the history of this planet. Not a dent. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Life from other worlds has been brought to this planet under one of many scenarios or another, going back 65 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct here. Where's that history in the awareness of people living on Earth today? They don't know it. They don't remember it. Classified people don't even know it. Little bits of it maybe. And then there's a galactic history out there involving what people on Earth call extraterrestrials that has been going on for billions of years before Earth could even harbor life. Just because people on Earth are kept in the dark by a collective government body about extraterrestrials doesn't mean that those people in high enough classifications on this planet know they exist, because they do. And somehow they've gotten into their little pea brains that they're more self-righteously capable of knowing about them, and they're just human beings that put their pants on every day, than the rest of the people. They're simply been given a privileged class to know about it and keep it from everyone else. And then when they do that, that's how they maintain power. They know something you don't know. Na, 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 na. You know, it's childish. It really is. And the only reason they do it is because of fear that's ruling their lives. I can tell you, in my view, from meeting with some of them, both on this world and when they're out of bodies at night, they don't want to do it anymore because it's painful, causes disease. It's hard to keep up a lie to a mass of people, fellow beings. And it keeps them dumbed down, intelligence dumbed down, their ability to think so that they don't feel suppressed and go postal. Very few beings actually get out of balance to the point where they just start shooting anybody because they feel like they have no effect on life, so they just want to kill anything. Some people snap because they're being lied to and suppressed. Their natural abilities are suppressed in an artificially created subconscious domain, done to them by the misuse of extraterrestrial technology. Not by the people on Earth initially, by a tyrant race. Races from the stars have been coming here since its beginning, but they were particularly drawn here out of great concern when people started setting off nuclear bombs on our own planet, on the surface or in the atmosphere. They're going, what the heck is wrong with people on Earth? They're blowing up nuclear bombs in their own atmosphere? It's not working. You mean they're just testing them? You can imagine how some beings on other planets reacted to that, both tyrants and benevolent races. They both think that's an insane thing that anyone could do. And it was, and it is. There is no way of sugarcoating how insane that is, because it's crazy. As a group mass of people, for people to do that is a form of insanity as beings. Why would anybody deliberately set off a bomb that has radioactive particles going out in the jet stream that will ruin life on this planet? Well, you'd have to be quite nuts to do it deliberately, wouldn't you? And think it was a good thing? See, I'm only saying this because the people I talk to on the show are not just people interested in the truth, it's also the classified people. Governments, hidden governments, because they want a way out of this too. They can't go online to everybody forever, and they all know it. It distorts their lives. They get disease, they get cancer, they die of old age. Doesn't matter what extraterrestrial technology they've gotten a hold of. You can't run negative emotions and imagination through this form out into the world without it coming back and being harmful to the persons doing it. It's a law of the physical universe. You can't get around it. There is one way to get around that, though. I mean, there is one way to, I don't want to say get around it, to not be the effect of cause and effect in the physical universe. There is a way. And there's only one way. And it's not just one way for Earth, it's for the entire multidimensional creation. You have to intentionally know and imagine constructive, benevolent, kind things that are good for all life. If you do anything other than that with the imagination, it splits into two different ways. Good for yourself, bad for the planet in the future. And the two go out from a being. They hit this primordial energy that supports the universe, which we talk about as a white light with a golden essence. Because human eyes can't see that high of a spectrum. In Hubble telescope shots of the universe, it looks like black with stars all around it, but it isn't. Some scientists on this planet understand that plasma, that dark matter between stars and planets and moons and Earths and galaxies is actually a very powerful energy. But it doesn't react like the laws of physics tell them it should. It doesn't react like protons and neutrons and electrons and nucleus of atoms. It is something behind all that. If people want to play among the stars and go out to other galaxies even, then they're going to have to know how to channel that energy through their craft. It doesn't get used up and it doesn't pollute anything. There is no other way. The races that get around the stars now have found that out. Some tyrant races would raid or steal or rob other races of the inventions of such things and use it for themselves. And this has been part of our galactic history. Negative beings and tyrants never invent anything new, ever. Not even weapons. It has to be done by beings who are using constructive, positive imagination. Weapons come out of the misuse of imagination done to solve a problem, turned into weapons. In other words, just tweaking something or capturing scientists and forcing them to make them into weapons against their will. This was also part of our galactic history. Beings that actually travel freely as free beings around the multidimensional universe, particularly in the 144 parallel dimensions that make up the physical plane of existence. Just one level of matter. There's another entire level of matter. You could call it a first heaven, like the astral plane, where all matters move through emotion. There's another major division above that called the causal plane. All matters move through cause and effect, and it's consciously experienced. There's the mental plane where all matter is moved there through thought. The etheric, all matter is moved by the Atma itself through physical forms that are transparent, basically very little negative in them. And yet those beings aren't free either, because they're operating in the lower dimensions. The beings that are running the bodies in all those planes are spherical. They're not made of nuclear matter. They are energy, but not as it's understood on Earth and many worlds out in the galaxies. Many other worlds understand this, and they are the most advanced races with the greatest technology that can go between star systems and even galaxies, and 144 parallel dimensions of that matter. And they get around. Beings on that level also have the ability to leave their bodies at will. They know what they are that isn't physical. That doesn't mean they necessarily know what's beyond what certain esoteric groups on Earth call the void. Just because they're that advanced and they have peaceful worlds doesn't mean they really remember where they came from before the lower dimensions were created. What is underway now, involving them, is vast numbers of them are being escorted across that void into the upper worlds and brought back here to share it with their people. And it's what they're finding there that's giving them the inspiration and ability to change the past prophesied destructive destiny for planet Earth into an unexpected altered destiny. One that is not destructive and is actually liberating. People on Earth don't have free will anymore. They think they do, but I point out, how can you have free will to make proper decisions in eternity on a planet or as a collective group of people for the greatest outcome on a planet if you don't remember who you are that isn't a physical body, that lives a little short blip of life and then it's gone? If you can't remember that, and you don't remember what it is you knew before you were incarnated on this planet with all memory suppressed, then how can you have free will? The problem on Earth is simple. There is only one clear solution. People on Earth need to recover true free will, and that means they need to remember who they are that isn't physical, give up the fear of death and the fear of the unknown altogether, and start operating in serenity of being as co-creators with the source behind all life, because that is the destiny of a human being. If people want to know why they exist, that's it. That's the accurate, honest answer. People hear this and they're going to, well, how do I discover that for myself? First, I need to share with them that they already knew it once, long ago. When they recover it this time, there's a certain wisdom they will acquire in a new energy field that's running through this omnipresent force that supports all creation. And as it passes through them, they become wise enough to not only know how to keep their awareness as an Atma, a soul, an energy being that isn't nuclear or made of matter, and how to run bodies in freedom and not suffer from the illusion, the suppressed consciousness that they are a physical body, because they aren't. They never were and they never will be. For a human body to talk and be animated and move, you don't grow up a brain in a body. The body and the baby being born does not run itself. A brain doesn't run itself. A being has to be running that brain and that body for it to do anything other than sit there and drool. The more people begin to recover this awareness, the better off this planet and its people will be in immeasurably wonderful ways. When that comes about here, people will come here and land and craft all over this planet. Technicians and very advanced master teachers will come here, get rid of the pollution in the water and the air, free of charge, remove nuclear weapons, turn them into other useful products, just transform the molecules that make them up. No more radioactive particles. Provide an energy source that allows people to understand how to tap into the energy that underlies all creation to get around the universe. To do that properly, People on Earth need to be able to respect life in the grand multidimensional creation, not just life on Earth. And until they can do that, they will not be allowed to play among the stars. They'll remain stuck in this solar system on this planet. And this is something that I need to get across to them, because they will not get around this one. Not now, not ever. So the sooner that what we call disclosure takes place on this planet, publicly, worldwide, beings that can do this, that have kept this a secret, are getting the assistance they need to know how to do it, to feel comfortable with it, to be shown a way that it can be done so it's not destructive to them or to anyone else. A mass of people could be very revengeful and hateful when they learn the truth, a lot of hate. That's not going to happen, because the mass of people are also being worked with when they're out of their bodies at night, towards this goal. If I share this with the world, it's the first time they're hearing it from anyone, anywhere on this planet. On the internet, or YouTube, or Facebook, or Twitter, or anywhere. News networks, film business. This is something that is changing out in the universe. And I'm kind of like an emissary for that. To get this awareness up into the awareness of people raised to their conscious level. They need to do that in order to ask, to be humble but respectful of themselves and to all life, not on this earth. To request beings who are wondrous and kind and highly developed to come here and help us out. Make this transition, because there isn't a price tag attached to it at all. People on Earth running the world today aren't used to thinking in terms of there not being money as a price tag for any exchange. They're going to be in for a real shock when they find out that the majority of advanced races out there outlawed money a long time ago, because it's used by tyrants to control people. Even in Rome, Caesar's face on a coin. If you didn't have that coin, you didn't get no bread. And we all know that guy was a tyrant. All of them were. This is why I point out from time to time that money is an idea, whether it's in coin or in bark from a tree made into paper with ink on it. And tyrant royal family bloodlines, kings and queens and all that, were not created on Earth to begin with. They were imported to this planet under a treaty that goes back 500,000 years. That means there were also good civilizations and kind races on this world in small areas. No one race has been permitted to dominate or own this planet from the stars. It's been like a Switzerland, hands off, quarantined. The fact that the poles of this planet flip every 100,000 years, they did anyway until recently, means that a civilization on this planet has only been allowed from the stars to develop for 100,000 years. It's wiped out in one day. Very cataclysmic. And that's been going on for some time. So Earth has not been a planet with human beings on it that is normal. On other worlds, polar planets don't flip. They evolved for hundreds of millions of years, sometimes billions, without this problem. So Earth has been in a real enigma in the universe, a real problem for people to incarnate on its surface, for that reason and others. When this comes out and people hear it, my work is telepathic. It works on an energy plane of existence that underlies all life and connects to the highest realms, far above the void known to most Buddhist monks. Not all, some know there's other things. And it isn't worked through the psychic energies of the 4 lower dimensions, because those energies are unreliable. They move as a current like this. Sometimes it's up, positive, sometimes it's negative. And if you don't know the difference or how to keep the two separated and unmixed, you're going to get hoodwinked. You know, you predict one day this happens and then it doesn't happen. Predict another day and maybe it's close, and then somebody will provide the excuse for why that didn't happen at the date they said it would. There's always a reason. They're never going to predict anything to do with the future of this planet operating that way accurately. And for two reasons. One, the future of this planet has been altered permanently for the first time. As people become aware of this on Earth more and more, this planet will be raised in vibration significantly. Okay, enough said on that.
I have questions from the audience. Okay.
Let's go with the questions now.
Yeah, the first one from Beta Joy. Can you talk about the orbs, ROBS? Okay, I have been photographing on digital camera, and are they Atmas?
Pull the thing from your shelf back there and put it up in front of your camera.
Okay.
Just turn around, grab it, if you would. That, yeah, that thing. That's right. Up there. Okay. When people see this is an orb, this is answering their question. Lower it down just a little bit, just there, a little bit higher. There we go, so they can see the whole thing. That is spherical in structure. An orb casts out these energies you're seeing in these different spectral lights on different levels that cover the spectrum of known light that comes out of white light. This is not made of matter. When someone sees an orb, they see this halo around here, the golden one, they don't see any of this detail. When they're seeing orbs, if they're really seeing them, they're seeing beings operating out of bodies, the Atma, soul, the actual energy that runs physical bodies. That answers the question. This actually has structure, layers, white core, moves to a yellow core, to an orange core, to a green, to blue, to lavender, to violet, to a golden energy field emanating out through all this. And this is like the shape of a planet or a moon or a star. It's round. It is beings like this, all of us, collectively, from the source itself, the prime creator, that made the lower dimensions what they are today. And we're responsible for the experiment of what we call evil, good and evil. It also means that ultimately, because the purpose of the human being is to become a trustworthy co-creator with that source, not a co-slave, not a worship it, or you get a lightning bolt and sent to hell, none of that. We're meant to be co-creators with it. To do that, we have to be conscious and aware of the life that's beyond this earth. People can remember this under the right conditions.
Mm-hmm. The second question is still about Atma from Sylvie from Canada. She asked, thank you for your awakening show. I would like to have more information on our Atma. What are the attributes of the different colors and tiers? They are frequencies, and is there any relation with our aura? Thank you.
The energy that people see, what you would call psychically, until they work on a higher level than that. The energy they see when they're looking at an auric field around a physical form is an energy that's coming from that sphere running that body. And it takes a characteristic pattern surrounding the body. But it isn't coming from the physical body at all. Physical body does not produce an aura. The Atma does. And when people see that and they try to read it or interpret it, they may be doing it from a life on earth as a person who may think or know they're not a body but don't really have the experience of what it is that isn't a body. So they won't see and read things to the depth that they could if they were operating as that when they did their readings. Because then they would be operating from the white core, and that's not matter. That's not time and space. This being that we call the Atma is comprised of the same energy as the source behind all life itself. Identical. These different teardrop shapes and the different layers are higher faculties of being. Memories stored from lives in very different dimensions and planets. Wisdom that was originally done when the lower universes was created. How to know how to get from one planet or galaxy to another is stored in each Atma. On Earth, it's all suppressed, or almost all of it. The faculties are still there. You can't destroy an Atma. You can destroy a body. But all of that can be recovered under the right.
Why are they in different colors, Scott? They ask question.
Well, think of it. there are many different dimensions in the multidimensional universe, and each one of those represents a different level within being, because that Atma is running a physical body, not just on Earth, on the astral, what people call the emotional plane. It's not the physical universe, it's the emotional universe. Matter is moved there, molecules and the like of a finer matter, through emotion. The causal, it's moved through the cause and effect of energies, and people experience this directly. In the mental plane, 4 major divisions up from the physical, all the billions of galaxies, up higher. Everything's moved through thought, and each Atma is running a body in a life on those levels. The Atma itself comes from a plane far above the void known to most other certain esoteric groups on Earth. It comes originally from a place of energy that has no negative or positive in it at all. You co-create cause there, meant for the good of all life, but there's no effect. There's no cause and effect like there is in matter in the physical universe. So if a person wants to change the reality they're living in here, they can't do it from Earth. From a physical brain they grew up in one lifetime that only has recorded in it what you grew up with. It doesn't have the knowledge of any of that in it. So when the Atma, the real person, begins to cross paths with beings like me or others, master teachers out in the universe, or people from other planets or other dimensions, particularly when it's safest for them, when they're out of their body at night, and everyone is, they can get approached by kind beings that can make them feel safe, that they've either known in the past, they could be master teachers they once had and forgotten, and then they're shown the truth a little bit at a time. So that when they go back to that body in the morning, they wake up with a whole different capability and consciousness. They wake up with a higher IQ, the ability to understand things that cannot be understood by the brain in a human body. And they bring that awareness back to the human body. That's the reason for these shows. That's the only purpose for them. It's not for money or power or fame. It's to get a telepathic channel out to this planet with a vast host of beings I co-create with, not from Earth, to help people recover what they were made to forget without their consent, long before they found themselves on this planet. Now, this is meant for the good of all life here, including animals and plants, rocks and mountains and water and air, all of it. This planet is not in any way, shape, or form a normal world. It is not operating in a normal way, like many other human worlds do today. It's backward, it's unconscious, it's fear-ridden, and it's the fear that's subconsciously implanted in a field of energy around the Atma through the misuse of advanced extraterrestrial science. Tyrants got a hold of it one time. It has caused people to not remember on this earth. People are actually subconsciously terrified of life on other worlds. They're terrified of getting out of their body. They're afraid the devil or a demon will get them if they leave their body. They're going to wait till they die to find out what truth is. And this is a trap, because when they die, they're going to take the fear with them. And that fear will recreate the circumstances of their being incarnated in a body with no memory all over again. Fear is negative. It creates negative circumstances. Can't be any other way. So as people learn to drop their attachment, their addiction, this bad habit to negative emotions and imagination, they become more who they are. They begin to remember. Their intelligence expands. Their IQ goes up. And every night they come back to this earth. After their body wakes up in the morning, something else is brought back. Does that answer the question?
Yes. Scott, back to these planes. How about etheric plane?
What about
because
it?
Thinking about astral plane, mental or causal plane, mental plane. How about etheric plane?
Etheric plane has a least amount of positive and negative energy mixed in it. It is a last dimension before you go into this area, which seems to be empty. It's really not black. It's kind of a light blue color and could be seen as white light, but it seems empty to people when they cross it, because it's a big expanse that separates the upper worlds that operate differently from the worlds of time and space. Originally, the worlds of time and space were created for us to come play in them and work in higher genetic forms like bodies to get tactile sensation experience in different planes and different planets in order to come up with new ways to do things for the good of all life. In other words, it originally was designed so that we would come up with, as individuals made of the same energy as the source, like a drop of pure water in a whole ocean of it. The source is the ocean, but we're the same drops, same kind of energy. And we're supposed to be returning to that source to deliver our insights from all this hard knocks of lives and deaths and births. And what's going on right now out in the universe and behind the scenes, even on this planet, is a type of an awakening that has never occurred before in the entire history, hundreds of billions of years in the lower worlds. The experiment of evil, and it was an experiment, was placed in the lower worlds to cattle prod and test people. It was designed to herd people because their feet come close to the fires of hell, so to speak, negative stuff, to run in the right direction away from that. And what it ended up doing was creating traps for beings. An experiment which failed. It was simply tried and it didn't work. It backfired. So you've got a whole lower dimensional system full of beings that make up part of the prime creator itself, who don't even remember who they are. And they're not bringing things back. They don't even remember they're not bodies. How are they going to go back to anything? That is something that needs to be recovered for people on Earth. They need to remember what they knew before they were born here. It's as simple as that. You can't wait till you die to count on some God giving you paradisical, massive IQ and understanding out of nowhere, because it doesn't work like that. Beings cannot be given that without their own effort creatively involved. They would not know how to use it, and they would misuse it and right back on Earth in another body with no memory. Can't be done like that. No one in the higher worlds is going to allow people from the lower worlds to come back to that source carrying any form of negativity with them, emotions or thoughts, because none exists there. And the barrier assures that. If you want to cross that barrier, the bodies you have in these planes where positive and negative and misuse of imagination and misunderstandings stays with the bodies in all those planes when they go to sleep. The Atma that runs those bodies then withdraws and can cross that barrier into the higher worlds. And it's only there with others that we can create change for the lower worlds, like retiring the experiment of evil permanently, replacing it with a new energy that inspires beings to only create that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on Earth, all of it. That is actually the destiny of a single human or human being. Because Hu is the first half of the word human, and that word was not created on this planet. Neither were any languages. They originated out in the stars. The different races we see, whether they're Asian or African American or Caucasian, did not originate or evolve on this planet. They evolved on whole planetary systems that just have that race on them. And then they shared with each other and went into space. The people that are thrown together on Earth come from all kinds of races around the universe, but they're thrown together on a planet with no memory, bumping into each other every day. How can they make good decisions about going and playing among the stars like that? Well, you can't. Obviously, you can't. Disclosure of the truth is not only happening, it is essential and irreversible. I don't care who's in power right now or what they think they're doing. What's moving, because they know there's an energy moving through this solar system that they can't control and will never be able to control it. And it's moving in one kind way, but it's for their good too. Sooner they get that in their head and their heart, the better off this whole planet will be for everyone, including them. It can't be done singling out bad guys and executing them, and the rest of the public is held harmless and blameless, because this is not true. We're all involved in the support, out of habit, of this experiment we call evil. And if we want to end it, we have to withdraw our energy consciously from supporting such a thing and put it into something that will replace it. It's just that simple. And there, I've said it. It's on this recording. It'll go out in the World Wide Web. My work has never been about targeting classified people or harming anyone. That isn't the intent of all the billions of beings I work with that are not from Earth on many levels. It just isn't. The sooner people on Earth get this in their head, they're not going to be threatened by tyrant ETs. They've already made treaties with them and regretted it for decades. The only reason they're out of some of that now is because they had help from kind beings, regardless of the stupid choices they made. I hate to say stupid, let's just say subconsciously manipulated and misdirected choices without their awareness or consent. The manipulated choices they made. How could anybody on Earth have seen the misuse of extraterrestrial technology on certain leaders after World War II? The CIA that was formed could never have seen it coming. No way. Way over their heads. So there had to be some policing of what was done here illegally, breaking an off-world treaty, to protect this world from being diabolically taken over by tyrant extraterrestrials who would have slaughtered 3/4 of the population deliberately just so they could only have 500 million to control. Much easier to make slaves out of that than 7 billion. And they're cowardly in a way. They wouldn't bring their own people here to do the dirty work, keep people on Earth enslaved, working, producing products in a classified system that are shipped off world just to get antiquated extraterrestrial technology in exchange for it. It's a trap. The people who created that kind of trap with hidden leaders after World War II do not have the best interests of the people on this planet in mind. They never did, and they never will, until they're changed from being tyrants out in their own world systems out there. And that's underway right now for the first time. When I say to people, I'm not concerned about the future of this planet and that I do not carry fear about that future, I really mean it. I state it as a fact. I don't work with negative emotions, negative imagination, theory, speculation, doubt, fear, terror, or any of these things, because they aren't normal states of emotion of a normal human being. And I'm not talking about a human body, I'm talking about the Atma that runs a human body. It's not natural for it to carry negative anything. Those are simply split energies in the lower dimensions, good and bad, right and wrong, that beings have been compelled to run through the middle of their own core. So their imagination splits in two opposing forces, good and bad, and it grounds them to this planet. So they can't remember anything. It's negative. When I say this to people, I know on some level of their being, a bell goes off. They go, wow, you know what I used to know that. Somewhere I just know it. Right? At the core of your being, you just know. You used to know this, even if it was taken from you at some point in your past, before this lifetime, for one reason or another. The most advanced master teachers that I meet out among the stars from higher dimensions do not wave a magic wand and set anyone free while they sit on their butt doing nothing. That would never work. They get a person's consciousness awake enough so that being will voluntarily co-create getting out of their own trap with beings who can help them do it. But it has to be done by each individual's participation. It can't be some kind of a miraculous being coming to Earth to just do it all for everybody and take a bunch of innocent, childish people up into the upper worlds in some heaven so they could wreak havoc there with all of their lack of experience and fear. Will not work. It will never happen that way. So people on Earth need to understand and wake up to what real spirituality is, in contrast to what they've been taught here. Because they've been taught this for thousands, even millions of years, and they're still stuck on this planet with no memory. That is not the function of an Atma, or let's call him a human being. Let's call the human being not a body, but a sphere. Let's call that the human being. And it's that sphere that's made in the image of the source, not this. They got that all wrong on Earth. This is not what's made in the image of the source. This is. That's soul. That's the Atma. And it's energy, and it's eternal. You can't destroy it. A hydrogen bomb could be set off underneath an atma, could not harm it, because it's not matter. You can kill a body, but you can't destroy an atma. That's impossible. Literally, can't be done. Tyrants who know that try to get energies corralled around an atma through which it looks at the universe and sees distortion or fear, so it can trap it and use its energy. Convince it it's a body. Dumb down its life force so it lives 80 years instead of its normal 1,000 or 10,000. Shut down the photographic memory. Let them use 6 to 10% of their brain. Of 100% brain that's developed, what? People on Earth use that much of 100% developed brain? Why? Oh, shut down the use of the rest. How did that happen? Where did the telepathy go that people now call intuition? They're left with faith, but for the most part, no direct experience, no knowing, no wisdom. How can you become a co-creator with the source without the wisdom to know how to do it properly? Well, you can't. When I work with the Hue on these journeys, even during these shows, I'm putting out telepathic energy with friends from out of town, I mean from off planet, that work with and connect into the primordial energy that underlies all creation. Call it dark matter. That isn't really dark. To the Atma, when they're out of their body, they see it as a white light with a golden essence running through it, holding everything in place. Why do planets revolve around suns and galaxies whirl and they're at a distance from each other? Beings actually support that in an energy field that was created, designed to do that. Beings like us created that. Planets are round and suns are round and moons are round for the most part because they were made in the image of the source. Us. It. That's why they are that shape. Genetic forms like human beings, the higher genetic forms, were designed, and the brains and nervous system, so that Atma could run this body and bring higher awareness to it, make it enlightened on any planet, so that that channel of that being becomes a benefit to others. The purpose for that? Simple. Go back to the source, put the body at sleep, go back to the source, and deliver new insights about how to do things to correct this failed experiment we call evil. For it to be neutralized permanently, something more profound that actually works has to take its place. And it cannot work if it's working in a dualistic current, positive and negative. It has to work in an energy that is only for the constructive good of all life. That's the proper use of the imagination. People on Earth believe the imagination's made up in their brain, from their brain cells. This is not true at all. There is no camera. I've said this on countless shows. There's no camera in the brain, no projector screen from a movie so you can see stuff. You close your eyes are off. No outside light from objects like this iced tea, or this little thing, or this thing, or what you see around you. It's off. That brain is off. It's not seeing any light coming into it. The eyes are off. And then when a person imagines being with a lover, or being with a beautiful hummingbird, or by a waterfall, who or what is seeing that? Not the brain. The being that's spherical, the Atma that's running that body, is what's seeing that somewhere in creation. Distortion of those images comes from taking fear out of the body when you go to bed at night with you. And it distorts everything because it's negative. There is no secret to evil. It doesn't have intelligence. It's not a genius. It's just negative. You cannot find any solution to the mystery of evil by looking at how come it's such a genius in that. It isn't. The beings who add energy to evil and negative things are the real geniuses, and they're misusing their gifts and their abilities as a being by supporting such nonsense. And that's exactly what it is, nonsense, all of it. Ultimately, each of us are responsible for the condition of the worlds, good and evil. can't blame a devil or a bad extraterrestrial ultimately, because we all come from a place far above this, and we're responsible to change it, or we will not change. Beings on Earth, when they recover that, I think that a lot of beings I work with, in fact, I know this, see that people who are completely unconscious on planet Earth have great potential when they're liberated to add great contributions creatively to the whole creation. Not only to end the experiment of evil, but take it collectively in a whole new direction. It's never been done before. This is what we're after. People can play this game of power and money and politics and guns and bombs and blah, 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 fear and death and life for another 100 billion years, and it will not change one bit. And the beings that were here now, 1 billion years from now, would reincarnate just as unconscious, doing the same thing over and over again. You'd think that by now they would be tired of that nonsense. Now, there isn't a person on Earth that isn't tired of it. But they don't know how to get out of it. They don't have a way to remember. Well, they do now. It's not my energy. I don't own it. I just work on harmony with it to present it here. Billions, trillions of beings are involved in this on many levels now. It's moving in one direction. There is nothing on this earth that has power. I don't care if it's a classified space program or who they're working with, that can put a wall up and keep that from coming this way. It's quite beyond their capability. And they know it's heading this way. What they need to do is get in harmony with it so that they can have a transition into disclosure that is peaceful for everyone. No death, no rioting in the streets, no of that nonsense. And then they don't have to keep lying to everybody and getting disease and getting sick and feeling bad and being depressed and being isolated and having to fib to everybody all the time. It's a terrible burden. I wouldn't take it for all the money in the world. Scott, come and get classified with us. Oh, let's see. How about no? Don't even care what they're working on in Area 51 or any of those. I could give a hoot. It's it's antiquated technology. They're going to be working at that for another 1 billion years, the rate they're going. They want to get this big leap into space and get out there. They're going to need help from beings who have had that for a long time that are willing to share it. It's just that simple. It really is. I can only tell the truth to people. I can't make them get off their ass and do something about it. However, the energy that runs through this, the hue, can. Because it's what they're alive in. They move and live and have their being in this ocean of light and sound that runs in different dimensional levels of vibration, all the way up beyond what people even can possibly imagine exists. And yet at one time, the beings that are on Earth today were there. They knew it. That's how depraved and backwards the world is run today. Because it's being run by people who are afraid of their countries, of other governments, of extraterrestrials, good and bad. They're running and operating in fear. When they make decisions collectively for the mass of people by lying to them, they make wrong decisions each and every single time. The repercussions in space-time bring situations and circumstances back to them that just they can't control it, and so they hustle and spend more money and try to cover it up. It's getting more and more complicated for them to do that. It's going to be uncontrollable by them. It already is. That's not a bad thing. It just means they need to cooperate with it for the sake of their own children and families and life. If they claim they're lying to everybody about the nature of the existence of extraterrestrial life for the good of people on Earth, they're deceiving themselves because it's harmful for them to do that for everyone else. Can't be any other way. It's negative. Creates its own results. These guys should know better. It's primary law of physics, for crying out loud. Thoughts and emotions can be measured on an oscilloscope in a laboratory. They go out from a being like a radio wave and they affect matter and things around us. They go into this primary source that isn't nuclear and tell it what it wants, what we want it to create. So if they put fear in one thing and happiness for their family in another, it creates both situations for them. This thing people call divine spirit is a living energy, and it co-creates with us. It's not someone's there to go set us free where you sit on your ass and do nothing. It will co-create good and bad for those beings who are unconsciously putting both elements out from their. They just get stuck on Earth. The one energy that's meant to get them moving forward holistically and for the good of all life, that would set them free from this unconscious state, is being used to create two opposing forces every day. So they're just grounded to the Earth. Pure physics, really. And every single being can undo this. And every single person on this Earth has the capability, under the right conditions, to remember and recall and drop this whole negative thing, like a big lead weight that it is. Worthless waste of time. Waste of energy and money and lifetimes. It's pointless because the way they're running this planet now has no future whatsoever out in space. The races that are out there collectively are never going to tolerate it. That means people on Earth are being positioned now to change in unexpected ways for their own good, really. Okay.
Scott, what you are telling us is eye-opening, but besides that, recommend to read your books too, so people will understand.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, I'll do that. Okay, we need to go on a little journey too here. We don't always have to do that on a radio show, but it's helpful if I encourage people to go into the trance state called sleep that they do every night all over the world anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't care if they're in Saudi Arabia or in a classified lab under Area 51 or wherever they are. It works universally for all beings. I do these journeys so that people can actually get the experience, direct experience, of what it's like to be out of your body consciously when the body's asleep, except you're consciously going on the trip as the Atma, going to wonderful places and bringing it back as a memory to that brain that never had that growing up on this Earth. And it brings enlightening energy to that brain. And then when you open your eyes at the end of the journey, plus the fact that we're recording this and goes up on your YouTube channel, then people can play it back when they won't be disturbed, put headphones on and hear my voice and go on the journey. Because when I describe the things we're seeing out there, they're seeing it not because I'm describing it, because they're creating it, seeing it with me. They don't realize that yet. Mm-hmm. So it becomes very, how do I say it? It becomes ground that's very new, almost frightening. It isn't, because there's no negative in it. But they're not used to it, and they haven't been used to it for maybe 1,000,000 years in lifetimes. But they've long forgotten all about this, not just in this life. And so that begins a process of recovery. Begins a process where people begin to remember, wait a minute, I used to know this stuff. Somewhere I used to have the brilliance and the intelligence to understand what the source behind all life, prime creator, is. I can understand it. People on Earth think, well, that's the supreme being. You cannot know that, blah, 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 till you go to heaven, blah, blah, blah. This is not correct at all. There are many beings running physical bodies that know that source personally. There's no reason why people on Earth can't also. If I can do it, they can do it. Simple. This is the Sayre's agenda. As you can see, on the front cover is the planet Saturn in our solar system. There's the sun, probably the North Star, whatever it is back there. And then you see these big chunks of ice that make up the rings of the planet Saturn, big gas giant. And you see a mile-long cylindrical shape, flattened on the top, big bridge control windows in the front. There's an identical one on the other end. It's a mile long. This is a smaller ship. And these galactic scout craft, these disc-shaped craft with 3 semi-far pods underneath, the modern ones of today, by the way, are entering the central section of this hull by changing the molecular time rate of the matter that makes up their ship through an electromagnetic field around it. And then they're able to pass through the metal hull. There's no door. When they lower the vibration of the matter that makes their ship and land in a hangar bay. These ships have no doors. It's because they're designed to travel through interdimensional portals between vast areas of space, even to other galaxies. The Series agenda is about what has changed out among the stars amongst extraterrestrial races and their master teachers and people from higher worlds, higher dimensions. That's changing the entire direction the physical universe is heading. And that is great news for people on Earth, because part of it is to sweep through Earth and other planets and get them free of this failed experiment we talked about. There are techniques in the back of this book, extensive, involving the hue, first word, part of the word human, and how to use it, how to connect telepathically into that source, how to remember it, how to work out of your body, and all that. There's a technique for the prologue in all 29 chapters. So there's 30 techniques in here. And each one applies to the hidden truth revealed in each chapter. When people go through the adventure of this story, they're going to relate to it personally, because this is created to be kind of an interdimensional window on what they've forgotten. It's about what's happening to change extraterrestrials in present time. This book, The Emerald Doorway, written before it, including its two sequels, the Parallel Time Trilogy, this is called The Emerald Doorway. And you can see this book's not for sale because it's simply a proof copy. These new covers were created this last year. Both books are now in a larger size. The original was 8.5 by 11. This is now a 6 by 9. So same size as this book. And this is the Atma on the front cover, where Pari gets that image from. It's on the front cover of this book. You can see an interdimensional doorway in the atmosphere, a crystalline-type city that's in a realm, first realm beyond the void, known to most Buddhist monks and esoteric groups on Earth, because there are many realms beyond that void. This is a ship, one of the scout craft. This is the captain. This is a master teacher. He's holding a quartz crystal staff, glowing golden, that has a cross with an ankh, an oval on top with a hole in it. It's a device. This is a little creature named Edith, 3 feet long. He's silica-based. He's not from Earth. He has a tail that glows like crystal opal in bright sunlight, and his species developed the ability to defy gravity and fly as an organic species. This is Melina. She's pale blue skin, long black hair. They're hovering on these anti-gravitic discs. They left this ship to come down here because this guy's introducing them to the Ancient One. And this sphere represents the source behind all life. At the time these beings who are being trained don't realize one of these that looks like that is above each of their heads, including this little Dren, silica-based. That little guy is telepathic, has a photographic memory, loves his kids more than people on Earth understand, can fly, has anti-gravity ability, has a photographic memory, vocal cords. There's even a picture of him. There are 30 illustrations in this book that are quite defined. And you'll see, there's Etta. You can see he has little dexterous hands and feet, like a human. He's not human. And his jaw, when it's closed, looks like he's amused about something. His bulbous blue eyes, and here he's levitating up off the ground through his natural ability. He's courageous to a fault and represents, as a non-human being, the highest and best qualities of an advanced human being. Courage to a fault, undying friendship, he would die for you, those kinds of things. So you're going to find in this work extraterrestrial involvement in our solar system and planet Earth over 100,000 years ago, before the last poles of this planet shifted and destroyed Lemuria, most of Atlantis, which was a continent 2/3 its size, and flipped the poles. Continents rose up from the seafloor, and the ones that were there sunk. This is a violent, overnight type of thing. It's not a slow thing. Ice Age comes after that. 6 ice ages in 600,000 years on this planet. Okay, 70,000 years later, what remained on Earth, a few thousand people, developed this volcanic island that remained above sea level into the culture people know as Atlantis that Edgar Cayce talked about, was destroyed 35,000 years ago through the misuse of science. But there's a deeper one further back. And there are levels of civilizations that have been on this planet going back millions of years This book begins to open that door. It's like an interdimensional view. People go on this journey, see the illustrations, the characters, they're going to start to remember things.
Scott, these two books I think will help very much people because I have my audience, some they are depressed and sad from the situation on planet Earth. So they should know like what's going on, what's behind the planet Earth, why we are here on these days, to read the book to understand and then to go on journey to recall who they are. That will help a lot,
Well, okay, let's go on a journey right now.
Okay.
You'll shut off your mic, we'll get a better recording quality. And I'm going to go into using this sound vibration known as hue. The hue that makes up the first half of the word human did not get created on this planet by any people here. It didn't get created in the Milky Way galaxy on any world. It didn't get created in the Andromeda galaxy. It didn't get created in the physical, astral, causal, mental, or etheric dimensions, higher heavens. It was brought into creation way up in a dimension far above the void and was responsible as a first sound for bringing into creation all that you see in time and space. When a person begins to work with it, it opens a door through the pineal gland in the center of the brain, a certain kind of gland that through which the atom of the real you runs a physical body and the nervous system and brain. And it connects the being or the physical consciousness. When you go into the hue, the body naturally goes into a trance state called sleep. It just means that the normal functions of the brain are turned off except for running the heart and lungs, blood circulation. Certain chemicals are secreted by the pineal gland, like melatonin, serotonin, and then melatonin's made, and other things that put the body in this trance state. And people do it every night on their own, like masters, but they don't realize what they're doing because they're not taught any of this growing up on this planet, not by religions, not by politicians. So they never have any of this effortlessly arranged by the time they're adults. And as adults, they need to get that recovered despite the fact that they didn't grow up with it. Human, hue woman, human, hue woman. Hidden in plain sight. When you put that vibration out, and it can be done in the imagination silently, it doesn't have to be out loud. A blind person can certainly hear it and do it. A deaf person can be shown how to see it and feel it and do it because they once knew it. Now, just saying, this is not limited. The Atma runs bodies, not the other way around. When you do this, seeking hidden truth to recover who you are, you're putting out an energy telepathically through the hue, through the pineal gland, connected into the omnipresent living energy people call divine spirit. Divine spirit does not come and just wave a magic wand and set people free. This omnipresent field of living energy is a co-creator with us. We imagine in it, and it develops and brings across our path and to us what we imagine. It is the actual power of creation. We do not own, possess, or control that power. We can co-create with it, but that is it. When I put out the hue, I ask people first to get comfortable sitting in a chair or laying on a bed, however it works for them, to imagine someone they love and respect, that they're grateful that person, place, or thing is in their life. Because when they just close their eyes and first view it, it makes them smile. This opens a door. In the pineal gland are rods and cones like you would find in the physical eyes, but they are set to other frequencies, other places, other planets, other realities. The Atma, when it's awake, knows how to run these. When you put the body to sleep at night and you go to bed, it's so easy, you just drift off as easy as pie. And then off you go. And usually nobody sets up any interest or creates any purpose to what they're going to do before they go to bed. So they go out into the universe, out of their body, randomly. Just go off anywhere, usually motivated by any positive or negative emotion they've had during the day. And then they come back in the morning and get up and oftentimes don't remember anything. They're having lots of experience. They've never had any training growing up on Earth whatsoever to really bring any of that back. So the higher faculties that make this possible are simply not used. Simple, but true. So the purpose of this little journey is to assist people to have a tactile, direct experience with the hue for themselves, so they can begin to know, do not take anything of a negative fear of the future with you when you go to bed at night. Put it aside. See, any fear you have about anything right now, age, when you're going to die, do you survive death, what are you, politics, chemtrails, North Korea, Iran, what's on CNN, anything at all that has any fear associated with it, any negativity, put it aside of your own free will. It's going to stay in little imaginary programs, call it evil, experiment of evil, fear, terror, doubt, theory, speculation, argument, anything negative. You're going to leave it off. So when you go on this journey with me, we're going beyond this body, beyond planet Earth, in order to have experience that only the Atma, the real you, can have and comprehend. And on the return of this journey, you will bring that awareness more and more into the physical brain that didn't grow up with any of it. That's called enlightenment. There are two aspects to that enlightenment. Self-realization, which is nothing more or less than knowing what you are as an Atma, spherical form of energy that's indestructible, what it's structured like, recovering this awareness. And then there's what's called God realization, and that is knowing that your purpose for existing is co-creating with the source behind all life. This has nothing to do with worshiping that source. Tyrants created that phenomena to control people. Kings have controlled priestcraft and so forth. And that didn't get originated on Earth in the first place either. So it isn't about worshiping the source. No, because it never required that of any of us. Tyrants pretending to be it between it in the lower planes did that. And they are tyrants. They're undergoing a change to cease that in them. The source itself requires one thing from all of us. First, we are comprised of the same energy as it on a smaller scale, the same faculties of creation. It requires that we respect it and each other in that source and all life. That is it. This respect I speak of is real divine love, way beyond the concept of divine love people have on Earth, thinking of it selfishly or, God give me this and God give me that. That really doesn't work. What does is learning, awakening, and knowing what all life is out in the grand multidimensional universe, recovering your awareness of it and respecting it and yourself and each other. This is all that's required to become a co-creator with that source. It's so simple, so clear. You put all those fears of the future aside. Imagine someone you love and respect. You're grateful they're in your life. And then just listen. Be part of the experience. When I hew, you'll hear this hewing inside your own being. It's the white core of my being as an Atma that is talking directly to the white core of your being. Not the body, not the brain. I will raise these tones up in pitch because I'm connecting not only the physical self you're running as an Atma, astral, causal, mental, and etheric, and planes above the void into this process. So your bodies and the forms you're running on other planes you don't even remember you have will go into this trance state called sleep as well. So the collective energies withdrawn into the Atma can go explore higher realities and know. Simply know. doubt, and fear are not part of this in any way, shape, or form. All emotions that are negative are artificially created, and they are not a natural state of the real being. I will begin these tones now. Being in the trance state called sleep for your body is easy. You all do it every night. Might as well get used to being conscious now while your body's in that state. By listening to my voice, which is telepathically connected to you all, this has nothing to do with controlling anyone or their mind or emotions. It is pure being without negatives to pure being only. How easy is it for you to utilize what you would call daydreaming? People do it all the time on Earth and don't have any understanding consciously of what it is they're doing. When you have your eyes closed, even when they're open. You're at work at a desk and you're bored and you look out the window at the sky and you imagine being at the beach or in the mountains or even on another planet. It isn't the physical eyes or brain that's seeing it. The physical eyes and brain are seeing the light coming to them from out the window in the office. But as you see it in the back of your consciousness, kind of, this other place, this other reality, this daydream, it is the spherical being that is not nuclear in nature that is actually looking at this somewhere in creation, sometimes in a parallel dimension on Earth that looks similar but different. Sometimes it's on Earth in some other location. Sometimes it's on another planet. Some people all over Earth had woken up with a dream that when they were flying in a physical body through the air. And often they see that the other people that are looking at them are not doing this. And they'll come back exhilarated in the morning, and they'll mistakenly think that they made that up in their brain while they were asleep. This is not true at all. It simply is not true at all. They actually were flying in a form, usually in the astral plane, in one of the 144 parallel dimensions that comprise that level, where such things can be done by the more awakened people there. So a person actually, as an Atma, is visiting the life they're living there, doing things like that. And of course, those are somewhat daring, bold, and adventuresome things they're doing that their fellows aren't doing. It's this kind of thing that leads people to eventually cross paths with people or beings or master teachers or kind beings from other worlds and other realities while they're living a life on Earth. They'll cross paths with them one way or another. You can feel your feet. Imagine your bare feet kind of wiggling down into white sand at a beach somewhere you've been to in your life. Or imagine being at a beach and feeling your toes sinking into the sand. And it's warm, there's a cool offshore breeze, and you can see the oceans crashing against the shore. And you're on a tropical island and no one's there but you. You can smell flowers, tropical flowers, from the jungle behind you. You can smell the salt air, and as a wave crashes and comes to a stop a few feet away from you and recedes, you can feel a mist of this salty water in the air on your face. This means that somewhere right now, you have a physical manifestation of a body doing this exact same thing. Your body in the trance state called sleep in the chair lying down is not doing this. You, the Atma, are running a physical projection of an energy body that looks human, having this experience somewhere else. It's easy to imagine that you're walking down a 3-foot wide, brown, moist-covered, moss-covered path between huge jungle forest and large prehistoric ferns. The smell of gardenia and lavender and a mix of tropical type flowers is in the air. And you can breathe in the air here and feel under your feet that there is no toxins in the air, on the land, or in the water in this reality whatsoever. Your body appears like you. It's about 36. You're a young adult. I don't care if you're a 10-year-old child listening to this program or a 90-year-old man or woman. For this purpose, you're about 36, perfectly healthy, no problems with your bodies, trim, vibrant, and it's walking along, enjoying this environment. And when it looks up smiling, it sees a sphere of light hovering above it. This is you. Both of these are you. One is the true form, one is a body manifestation, so you have tactile sensation and capabilities to perceive this reality and transfer it to the Atma running the body, which is not made of matter. Imagine yourself as this sphere that's hovering above this body and this other reality, also hovering at the same time near the ceiling above the head of the body you have on earth. You can see it there in the trance state called sleep or lying down. And you also can experience being above a body, walking on this brown moss-covered moist path in a jungle. As you walk forward, you step into a clearing, straight as an arrow from the beach, and you look behind you. And the beach that's behind you is emerald green. And you find yourself suddenly a mile away down this moss-covered brown path, straight as an arrow, on the beach, with your feet sinking down into this glowing emerald green sand. And you look down and pick up a handful of it, and you look in your hand, and it's little polished, pure emerald crystals. And they have a luminous quality to them. And the energy moves up your legs. It's uplifting and enlightening. It's raising your IQ, your ability to know, moves up through your head, and you look up smiling, and it goes into the white core of the sphere that you are as an Atma or soul, and is distributed out to that green layer, which is like in the photo of the Atma that Pari shared with us at the beginning of this journey. And there it is stored as a gift from people from another world, and it's about memory and recall. And then you see this green energy being emitted down through the white core of your being, hovering above your body on earth, and it goes into your brain and gently lights up and turns on more brain cells, and you begin to download this experience into the brain on earth that doesn't have this, as one of many, and then it moves out through your skull and through your body and out into a field of energy that's surrounding your physical form, an electromagnetic field. And when you look up, you don't open your eyes, it's in the trance state called sleep, you can see that you are an Atma hovering above that body, carrying this out. Now place your attention in the Atma hovering above the body that has its feet in the emerald green sand of this other reality we're visiting. When you look out, you can see a blue-green ocean, and a friend of mine named Ambassador Torellian from the Ceres race is 18 feet tall, and you can see he's manifested an 18-foot tall body. There's a big old atmosphere hovering above him, that's him. And you see pointed ears like an elf, slightly pointed, not terribly, long blonde hair in a white kind of tunic. He looks like a Greek god with luminous sky egg blue eyes, or sky blue or robin's egg blue eyes. They're a little bit larger than earth human eyes. And he's just looking at all of you who are on this journey with your feet in the sand. There are many of you now. If you look down this beach, you'll see that it is crescent shaped, about a mile or more long. And there are a number of other Atmas hovering above men and women with their feet in the sand along this beach. I am there, right in front of the brown moss-covered path that leads directly straight back in the jungle. And you can see me hovering above a body that looks just like me, with about 36 years old, perfectly healthy. And then you find yourself as the Atma, the spherical being, hovering above the body, and you see the body vanish. It's been withdrawn up into the Atma itself. When you look out and see Torellian, you see his body vanish and get withdrawn up into the Atma that he is. And as a group of beings, we move over the top of the jungle, following this brown moss-covered path. You can see the jungle trees are very tall, and at about a mile away, we come to a clearing that has a white marble floor several hundred feet across. It's circular. And in the middle of the marble floor is the statue of a woman standing on a kind of a square cube of blue lapis lazuli type. Looks like blue stone with gold lace through it. And she is 10 feet tall and made of pure polished quartz. She has long silver hair that you can see like a being, a real being, just inside the surface of this quartz statue. She has long silver hair that looks like silver metal polished, but you can tell it's soft. And she has violet colored eyes, slightly pointed ears, not drastic. And she's wearing a beautiful, elegant, translucent gown, bare feet, with her hands to her side, up beside each shoulder, with her fingers open, palms facing outward, and you can see a green halo of light around each one. And when you look down at the beach a mile away, you see that emerald sand is glowing about a foot above the sand, coming from her hands. This is an interdimensional doorway or a device. The land you are on is on a continent called Lemuria, or Mu, on a planet Earth, in the same place, so to speak, that Earth is you're familiar with, but this exists in the third higher parallel dimension above the Earth you're familiar with. It's in a higher molecular time rate. One of 144 such parallel dimensions in the physical universe before you reach a barrier and cross over into the astral plane. This woman, you can see standing slightly smaller, just behind, inside the statue. She has a gold band around her forehead and an upside down teardrop shape faceted emerald stone set in the middle of it. When you look through the stone, you see this woman standing 10 feet tall, slightly longer neck and fingers and arms and legs than we have, violet eyes, very beautiful woman, hovering in an atmosphere that is green, like in a big coliseum. In the next instant, you find yourself hovering as an Atma, all of us together in a circle around this being. And then you see a physical form that looks like you in bare feet, a radiant energy form that looks just like you appear there. And she places her hand over her chest and nods respectfully. We do the same. She is telling you that she comes from a race on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy on a planet called Zeontranaman 1. She is from a race called the Zeontranamus. They came from a galaxy 5 galaxies away, quite beyond Andromeda, a long time ago, from a planet of people called Dos Ventalis, from Dos Ventalis 1. They have violet eyes. The body form you are seeing, she's showing you here, if you look above her head, you'll see an Atma hovering there. Is 3.5 million years old on her planet, unaged, physical form. Next to her, you'll see a man appear, a little taller, silver hair, violet eyes, ivory-colored skin, and bare feet. And he's hovering beside her, and this is her mate or her significant other, her husband, I suppose. And he's telling you that they are of human DNA, humanoid, meaning they have DNA in them like we have, that all came from the Say rays. And there's Terrellian, who appears 18 feet tall standing behind them, and the Atma above his head. The Say rays, he's showing you a body that was immortalized over 1 billion years ago in galactic history. It means that as a race, they withdrew the atomic structure of the body, the DNA, and stored it in an atom, a faculty of the Atma. When he goes around the universe and he wants to manifest a form, a body you could touch, carry out a mission, he just manifests it in cooperation with the omnipresent living energy that sustains and supports all that exists. Carries out his mission, then dissolves it again. This is true immortalization of a physical form. The two, a couple in front of you, are very ancient, one of the most advanced scientific cultures, I would have to say highly evolved as beings, and they've mastered genetic and genome and DNA science a long time ago. So they've chosen these forms, the ones that most delight them, they like the best out of all the lives they had, to keep them unaged the same way. And so they carry forward a mission of being the leaders of their world systems. And this world system comprises more than half of the Milky Way galaxy. They're kind and they've never been in war with reptilians or greys or any of that other nonsense. The Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, which has headquarters near the galactic core of this galaxy, runs most of the rest of the galaxy with a few tyrant races spacefaring out there that no longer have a way to be tyrant on worlds like Earth. And they're going through some changes. These two races have recently joined and become harmonious with each other. So the universe is being headed in a new direction. We are going to be leaving this environment. In an instant, you'll find yourself hovering in space above the planet Earth. But this Earth has no polar ice caps. This Earth has a beautiful emerald green blue ocean and one huge continent centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere. It winds up a third of the way below the North Pole and goes to the eastern hemisphere, then goes down a third of the way above the South Pole and back up. There's another continent on the other side centered over the equator. You can see right through the planet. And it's still called Atlas or Atlantis, but this is a world, an Earth, in a parallel dimension that never flipped its poles like it did cyclically on the world we are used to, planet Earth you're familiar with. When you look and see the moon, it's not full of craters. It's turning on its axis, and it has atmosphere and water and clouds and lakes and rivers and five domed cities on the front. And as it's turning on its axis, which our moon doesn't, and moving around the Earth, you can see a big dome city on the back in a mountainous region. You are hovering in space, in the void of space above this Earth, as an atma, spherical energy, not of matter. You don't need to breathe. You don't feel heat or cold. Radiation from the sun will not harm you. And you can see that we are hovering in a circle around this friend of mine, Ambassador Terralian, from the Say race. Their entire race immortalized their physical bodies in the way I described more than 1 billion years ago. And they were kind of out of touch with the rest of the races in this galaxy and others for a very long time, because they helped bring into creation bipedal, upright walking beings with human DNA from them, which is 8-stranded, not 2. And they brought these races up all over the Milky Way and other galaxies, and in the astral and physical worlds, 2 major divisions, to spacefaring capability long ago, and then departed this scene to sit back and see what we would do with it. And everybody knows what we've done with it. They are now, the Say rays, have gone through a consciousness change, as have many races out in the galaxy, to solve problems like planet Earth, where people no longer have free will. If they stood by and did nothing, and did not intervene in this planet to help people recover true free will, this planet would be destroyed, like the planet called Maldek was in our solar system millions of years ago, when they stood by and didn't intervene, and it was blown apart. It is now the asteroid field circling between the planets Mars and Jupiter around the sun in the orbit of a planet in our solar system today. Planets move very fast around their suns, and if they're exploded, some debris will hit Mars, ruin the atmosphere, hit the Earth, make it unstable, and then it'll spread out and continue in its journey in an orbital path around the sun. This is how the asteroid field got to be in our solar system. It's not unformed planets or all that nonsense they make up. It was a planet that was blown apart from the core outward long ago. Okay, we're in space above this alternate Earth, looking at this beautiful ocean-covered world with no polar ice caps, in a higher frequency of molecular matter, time rate. You can see down in the bottom, near the bottom of that continent, a third of the way to the South Pole, is a half-moon base-shaped emerald beach glowing, and you can see it from space, glowing green. Inland, past this crystal statue of this woman, near the beach, This brown path continues up a mountainside to a huge dome covering a city. Not a metropolis like New York. There are 3 giant golden-sided pyramids with quartz crowns, and they're radiating a certain energy from their devices. There's a single snow-capped mountain. This sits at a higher plateau at the base, and out of the top of the snow-covered mountain, 2/3 of the way towards the summit, is a cavern opening. A beautiful emerald green blue ocean, or water, is cascading down the side of this cavernous opening thousands of feet, where it hits the valley floor, becomes a river, and winds its way through blue-green forest trees that surround this domed city. From space, when you look down on this planet, you'll see over this continent the words Lemuria appear, or Mu. This isn't the Lemuria that was destroyed on the Earth you're familiar with. This is a Lemuria that was never destroyed. The poles never flipped. The beings that work in that dome city come from the Galactic Alliance, from the races I just described, and from beings and master teachers from other dimensions as well. And they work in that dome as part of a new expansion ray of consciousness in the omnipresent hue, the first sound behind all creation, to bring about a transformative change in the lower dimensions and to this planet Earth. Without their assistance, Earth would have already been destroyed in nuclear war. Remember this. When you look up above you, you see a blue-green, this light, appear in a funnel like a tornado, but it's calm, whirling gently. It's luminous. And it opens up a doorway between where we are in this parallel dimension in space above planet Earth to another reality far above. And if you look up this tunnel at the other end, you can see a sky blue, kind of like a beautiful blue sunny day. You know, you see a sky blue light up there. And you're going to see Torellian suddenly dart up it, and we all dart up with him as spheres of light in a stream of energy, faster than the speed of light by millions of times. And we come, as you're moving up this funnel of luminous that looks like water, it isn't. You can see through it and see galaxies on many levels dropping below you, passing by. And you suddenly find yourself in this blue atmosphere, hovering around Torellian and myself. High above this blue atmosphere, and the vortex below you vanishes. Now, you're hovering in a blue atmosphere, looking down on 6 mountain peaks, snow-covered, in a hexagon. Down below there is a blue glass administration tower, about 1/3 of the way towards the western coast. Looks like blue glass, you can see through it, comes way up with smooth sides, forms a flattened sphere, and then goes up to a point. And then at the base of this blue tower is a white marble floor, hundreds of feet across. And out at the edge of it are these white roadways that go in straight lines like the spokes from a bicycle wheel around this blue glass tower. When they go towards the base of the mountain, they go through tunnels in all directions. They come out the other side of these tunnels and go straight as an arrow to the beaches. Surrounding the circumference of what you can see now is a huge circular landmass with a white glowing beach around it. It goes to blue grasses and violet grasses and jungle trees. It becomes tropical near the coast. Snow-capped mountains in the center. This is a landmass which is floating in a very special energy field. And this is called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It is in a plane beyond the void known to anybody on Earth. It is in this place between the 6th and 5th realms above the void. And it was brought into creation fairly recently so that beings from all over creation could co-create new ways of doing things for the good of all life. One of the things that's underway in this continental landmass is the way to retire the experiment of evil in the lower dimensions. It is good that at least people on this trip put their feet for once in a realm above the void, beyond the lower dimensions, because they originally came from there and from planes far above here. When you look down and see this landmass, you see that it is suspended in a blue atmosphere. There are no suns, no moons, no stars. This is not like the lower worlds. And you can see these white roadways. When you look out to the western roadway, whatever you imagine west to be, you'll see that the road splits off every now and then, left or right, and goes into clearings. There are pyramid buildings and spherical buildings on tripods and octagonal buildings with oval windows in them. And there's different kinds of nature, botanical paradises built around all of these. And when you look at all these white roadways, there's teaching facilities all over this landmass in every direction. We should take a journey inside the administration area of this blue glass tower. So find yourself suddenly hovering in something that looks like the inside of a football stadium, circular, with 3 white marble seats that kind of circle around a fountain in the center of this administration dome. It looks like a white alabaster fountain on a blue pedestal. And there is a beam of light coming down through the needle of this minaret-like tower, filling this bowl with a luminous, radiant white light with a golden essence. Looks like water, and it's flowing over the scalloped edges of this white alabaster type stone and dropping in an even glistening sheet straight through the floor, down through the Hue Expansionary Academy, and then down through the dimensions. And we're going to take a little journey, each one of us as a sphere, the real us, and move right inside this shaft of light. It's quite wide. It'll fit all of us. Terrellian's in there first. And you'll feel this energy moving through the white core of your being. Doesn't harm you, passes through harmlessly, and it begins to light up the white core of your being a little brighter. And then you move outside of this fountain. We don't stay there long. The energy comes from a plane very far above there. Then you find yourself hovering above the Hue Expansionary Academy, looking down on 6 mountain peaks, snow-covered. You can tell that everything on that landmass is luminous, self-luminous. You can hear the sound of the hue, very, very high, or the humming of a million bees, soft and gentle. It's an energy that flows through this place. You can see that the luminous nature is in the atmosphere itself, around you, and you can see a physical form projected outside the atmosphere, hovering in the atmosphere here, looks just like you, about 36, perfectly formed and healthy, smiling. Then you look and you think back, you look back at your body and the spherical form of you hovering above your body, back in the trance state that it's in, back on Earth. And you move this experience from the lower dimensions to this realm, back to your physical body, and you let it flow through the pineal gland, through your brain for your benefit, raising your IQ, your ability to comprehend, and moving out through your physical body in all directions out into the planet Earth. So while you're recovering this, you're benefiting all others. Smile kindly down on that physical form. You have others living in other planes that you're running. You will become aware of them again. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you for a nice journey as usual, Scott.
We go on journeys like this occasionally. I usually don't bring a radio participants that far, but things are changing rapidly. And in the last few radio shows, I've been doing that. Because if you don't get a being who's on Earth at least brought to this place above where positive and negative is, at least once, they're really not grounded in some place where they can make great change in the life they're living. So they bring back a little bit of memory energy from there, and then that makes change in their lives. They'll see it.
Very nice one, thank you.
My pleasure. I want to wish all of you who are on this journey, and this is for all life on Earth, including this guy is an Atma. Whoever's watching this should understand that Atmas like us run animal bodies. Just because people are backward on Earth doesn't mean this isn't true. This little guy was on the journey with us. He goes out of his body. Whenever we go on these shows, or I even talk to somebody on the phone and have private sessions, he gets up on the back of this chair, goes out instantly with no effort, and then waits patiently for us to catch up to him. He doesn't have the blocks or subconscious mind like people have heard. He's a great traveler. I've gone with him into the upper worlds, above the void. And he's a great friend. He does this voluntarily. He puts himself up on this chair. And you know it, Pari.
Yes.
There's phenomena of it. It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So when Earth changes enough to where people realize and can respect all life, and animals too, when they can see who they are and remember, life on this planet will change quite dramatically. So pleasant dreams to everyone, and until next time, keep your stick on the ice. We're all in this together.
Okay. Bye-bye, Scott.